Today I want to show you a simple small pond that anyone can build. It's cheap and compact, so even if you don't have a lot of space at your place or you rent, you can still enjoy something like this. In the video I'll go over the materials needed, how to assemble the components, the type of fish that are suitable, and the small amount of maintenance that's required. If you don't already know me, my name is Kev, and the aim of my channel is to help people build and maintain a pond without spending a fortune. So if that sounds like something that interests you, you might like to subscribe and visit my website ozponds.com for lots of helpful guides and resources. Okay, so first things first, you need a container. For this guide I'm using a wine barrel. I like how they look, but you could use any container that will hold water. Sometimes I use decorative pots. I like how they look in the garden too, but like I said, you could use anything that holds water. Next we need some soil. For this pond I'm using potting mix from my wholesale plant nursery. This has no control release fertilizer added to it. In the past I've used mud from my natural pond behind the nursery, and I've also tried just dirt straight from the garden. It doesn't seem to matter, it's just a substrate that has a good amount of nutrient that the plants will use to grow, so don't overthink the soil. Next we need to have sand, and this will be used to cap the soil layer. For this pond I use landscaping sand. In the past I've used play sand, and I've also used pool filter sand. Again, I'm not overthinking it, this is just a layer to cap the soil and prevent all that nutrient leaching out into the water. Sometimes people worry about the pollutants that might be present in the sand or the soil, but so far I haven't had any issues. These little mini ponds are quite robust ecosystems, and the plants, bacteria, and tiny aquatic organisms that call it home can filter quite a lot of impurities. Wetlands in nature do the same thing. Then we have the plants. We want a bit of diversity in our plant selection, as it's going to create that more robust ecosystem that we're after. So we want some plants that will remain submerged, some that will poke their foliage up out of the water, and some that will float on the water's surface. You can buy plants online, find people giving them away on pond forums, try plants that you have in an aquarium, visit local waterways, or raid your other ponds like I do. Here I am stealing from another one of those wine barrel ponds. I collected some milfoil, bacopa, eelgrass, hairgrass, and some little floater that I don't know the name of. I got it from one of the local rivers, so hopefully it's not a pest species. You want to try and be responsible and don't use anything you know is a declared weed in your area. You also might notice that I have a branch here. Sometimes I like to add branches. I can tie plants to them, and they make it easy for baby frogs to leave the pond. But adding branches and leaves can make your pond go tea-coloured. This has some benefits in that it suppresses algae growth, and it makes the fish harder for predators to spot. So if you prefer very clear water, probably don't add untreated branches to your pond. This underwater footage I've been showing is from the barrel I was raiding plants in. It just makes for better YouTube when you can actually see the fish. But I personally do like the tannin look. The green of the plants really pops on the black water. But if you do want to add branches and you don't want the tannins, you can boil or soak the branches until all the tannins have leached out. Then you can add the branch to the pond and you'll still maintain clear water. The last component of this pond is the fish. In a pond like this, we can only really keep small fish or baby fish that are growing up, and then we'll need to put them in a larger pond later. I really like using these types of ponds to raise up or breed various fish that I like to keep. You can even bring out aquarium fish during the warmer months and breed them outdoors. They really thrive on the live food that these ponds provide. You also don't need to add fish. You can create a pond like this for local wildlife. The tadpoles certainly love them. An optional extra is a small pond pump. We don't need the pump from a filtration standpoint, but you might want to enjoy the sound of running water. I have plenty of ponds throughout my garden, so I've got plenty of water noise. But because you don't actually need the pump for filtration, it's the perfect opportunity to try out a little solar pump. Now to put it all together. First, a little pond like this should be in the shade, at least protected from the hot afternoon sun. We don't want to boil our little fish or tadpoles. Once you have the container where you want it, you can add your dirt, soil or mud. You don't need a huge amount, just enough to cover an inch or so over the base of the container. I know I normally use the metric system, but everyone knows an inch is about this much, and we just spread it out evenly. Before adding the sand, I wet the soil down a bit, I guess just to keep it in place while I add the sand. I use the full 20 kilogram bag on this pond, and the pond holds around 100 litres. 20 kilograms is about 44 pounds, and 100 litres is around 26 gallons, for my American friends. To fill the pond, I'm just using mains or city water. I'm not adding any fish right away. I use the bag the sand came in to protect the sand cap. We want it to fill slowly and not disturb this capping. There's been a few times where I've had the soil bust through the sand, and it's been a disaster. But once it's full, I let the pond overflow a bit to remove some of that oil or protein that's floating on the surface. And if you are using a wine barrel, it'll leak at first if it's been dry. The wood needs to get waterlogged and swell to become watertight again. I had to keep topping this pond up each day for about a week before it was fully sealed. You can buy rigid pond barrel liners if you wanted to put this pond indoors, but they are expensive and you might as well just use a decorative pot or a tub. I added a few rocks and left it for about a week to settle and stop leaking. Once it stopped leaking, I collected up my plants and my branch. I needed to anchor the branch with the rocks to hold it in place because it hadn't been soaked, so it wanted to float. I'm placing the milfoil in some filter sponge and then I cable tied it to the branch. I want the roots to penetrate into the water column and not the substrate. This is going to create a very safe and secure area for the fish if predators show up. The eelgrass, rotala, hairgrass and bacopa are planted into the sand-capped layer. You don't need to push them in too deep. And of course the floaters you can just throw in. The next day you could already see how quickly the tannins were leaching out. I left it for about 6 weeks, and in that time the plants really got going. And the water was stained very dark by this stage. And once the plants really took off, I added some native fish and tadpoles from one of my other ponds. I'm sorry about the footage, but it's really hard to capture in such dark water, and the camera decided to focus on a funny angle. But I shouldn't blame the equipment, I'm pretty sure it's operator error. So in ponds like this, I like to use them as grow-ons for baby fish for my other ponds, and sometimes I like to use them as a small area where I can intentionally breed fish I'd like more of. I live in a cool part of Australia. Cool as in the temperature, not a desirable postcode. But my choice of small fish I can keep outdoors is a bit limited, at least if I want to keep them outdoors year round. I did create a video on the fish that I keep in my ponds year round, so I'll link that and you can check that out if you're interested. But basically you can grow and breed any type of small fish in these sorts of ponds. Even in cool climates you can keep tropical fish outdoors for quite a few months. You should find that in these natural planted tubs, they'll spawn and grow much faster than they do in an aquarium. Just don't forget to bring them in for the winter. So let's talk maintenance. In these small ponds, there's a lot of natural food, there's little bugs landing on the surface of the water, there's bacteria and small organisms breaking down the fish waste and dead plant material. There's algae and fungi also helping break stuff down and recycle nutrients. Sitting beside the pond and watching this quiet cycle of life, death, decay, and rebirth, I don't know, but it makes me feel at peace with my own mortality. So if you didn't feed the animals in the pond, they would find their natural balance. However, I do feed the fish in some of these small ponds, but I have a few little rules that I follow. If the water is a bit green, I don't feed the fish. There's plenty of nutrient in the pond, and small algae are growing to consume it. These in turn spark the growth of small organisms that consume the algae. Basically, a green pond has plenty of food and nutrient, and you don't need to add any more. But if the water is really clean, and there's no algae at all, and you want the fish to breed, then you can add some food. I like to really crush it up. I figure this lets the adult fish see that there's plenty of food that the fry can eat, and hopefully they'll start spawning. Feeding fish is really fun, just don't overdo it. They're always going to say that they're hungry. And a small pond like this will need top-ups due to evaporation and the plants. I have lots of other ponds and I tend to use them to top off these smaller ones. Sometimes there is substances in tap water that we don't particularly want in our ponds. Things like phosphate, this can help algae grow. Chlorine and chloramine are also used in tap water to kill bacteria. In small doses, this shouldn't be an issue, and you should never need to do a full water change on a pond like this, but if you did, it pays to have some water conditioner on hand just in case. Everyone's water's a bit different, and it's all part of the learning process to see what sort of water you have and how it influences the pond. Remember, the plants, bacteria, and little organisms will help smooth the journey. Just trust them. Don't be in a rush to change your water, work with what you have. From time to time, the pond might start to grow a little too much algae. This may indicate we have an imbalance. Are there too many fish? If yes, remove some. Sell them, give them away, or create a new pond or aquarium. You know you want to. Or maybe the nutrient imbalance is caused by feeding too much. Stop completely for at least a week, monitor the pond, and then see if the algae's dying off. If it isn't, remove some by hand, a net or a stick. Just get in there. Are the plants still growing? Sometimes the nutrient in the soil becomes depleted and they need a little boost. Try adding a root tab fertilizer pushed down into the substrate. You'll also need to do a little pond gardening from time to time. We don't want the plants to fully take over the pond. We do want some water in there. And if you're like me, it's hard to throw away the plant clippings, all these plants, and then before you know it, you're setting up another pond and sharing it on YouTube. So a small pond like this is a great introduction to keeping a pond. If you then want to take it to the next step and create a larger pond that's still low cost and low maintenance, feel free to watch more of my videos and visit my website ozponds.com. Thanks for watching. See ya.